I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hereby call this meeting of the Fairfield Town Council to order. Our first business will be to conduct the swearing in of our new council-elect. If Michael Taylor and Stephanie Thibodeau would come forward, please. And if you would raise your right hand for me. Do you, Michael Taylor and Stephanie Thibodeau, swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and this state so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities duties incumbent on you as town councilor according to the Constitution and laws of this state, so help you God?
I do.
All right. You sign, Stephanie? For the rest. Michael, right here. And you may take your seats at the table. Welcome back, Stephanie and Michael, to the Fairfield Town Council.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next order of business is to accept nominations for chair. Do I hear a nomination?
I'm going to nominate John Passati.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Seeing none. Nominations are now closed. All those in favor of John Passati as chair? Opposed? Abstention? You're abstaining? Okay. Okay. Would the chair prefer to take over the meeting or have me continue with the nominations of officers?
No, you can go ahead and continue.
Okay. The next order of business is to accept nominations for vice chair. Do I hear a nomination?
I nominate Mike Taylor.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none. All those in favor of Michael Taylor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. The next order of business is to accept nominations for secretary. Do I hear a nomination?
I'll nominate Courtney to continue as secretary.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? All those in favor of Courtney Chandler, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. At this time, I'm going to turn the gavel over to the town council chair.
That's you, John.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. So that being out of the way, our next order of business would be the first order of actual business is public announcements. The town office and all non-emergency services will be closed on January 20th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And the 2017-18 property tax lien foreclosure date is January 21st. Taxes must be paid by 4:30 p.m. The second order of business will be public hearings. There will be none. Third order of business, public comments, which are limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council on any item or reserve the right to speak on a specific item that is on the meeting agenda when that item is addressed. Is there anyone? There being none, all right, we'll move to the fourth order of business, which is reports from staff and committees, town manager's report.
Good evening. So this morning I attended the Central Maine Growth Council meeting at the Chase Forum. They've had some exciting news with a grant that they've received to help with workforce development. They were one of 10 selected out of 100+ applicants across the country.
Wow.
So, and it's good, big federal money and could lead to some even larger amounts of federal money. So it's a great distinction for them, actually. And
Desperately needed, too.
there'll be some big press releases that'll be coming out about it, but it was pretty exciting. Also, we're continuing to work on the budget prep for next year. That still continues. The annual town report process has started. We're still looking for ideas for the cover. So if anybody has any of those, let us know. I've also fielded multiple calls in the last few weeks regarding our various TIF districts and funding assistance for businesses. Some of them are local businesses. Some of them are businesses from out of town looking to relocate. So the economy is definitely still seeing a good uptick. Unfortunately, what a lot of people are looking for is large warehouse space, and we just don't have any of that, and quite frankly, neither does anybody else along the interstate corridor, but that's what a lot of folks are looking for, anywhere between 15 and 30,000 square feet, and nobody has it, so just so that you're aware. And then also, just to give you a quick update, the planning board met Monday night, and they have voted to alter their meeting start times. The planning board always met at 6 p.m. the first Monday of the month, and they have opted to change that to 5 p.m. So they've brought that down an hour earlier. That group wanted to start sooner, so just so you're aware of that.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
We have economic and community development.
You want to go for it, Steph? Or?
We met this morning, and
Monday morning.
Yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning, and we are going to participate with the business to business in March. And what else did we talk about?
About Fairfield Heydays with Kim Hawks.
Right. There's a possibility that Fairfield Heydays might take place in the autumn, and it's still in its beginning stages. Kim Hawks is initiating this endeavor, and we're asking her if she can come and speak to us again. It's quite, as you know, it's quite a big procedure to get everything in place, and it should be talked about and planned out very carefully. What else?
Still talking about a playground project.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have a mural yet for the bridges, the program there.
Right. Has been talked about.
Yeah.
Did anything on the, we've got the 2020 200th birthday of Maine coming up, and I don't know if there was any talk about any participation
Oh, we
project or
No,
anything.
we
No.
haven't done any of that, but it's something that maybe we could explore as a council too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, try to coordinate it, yes.
And so that was a part of the conversation, though, with the Fairfield Heydays as to whether or not that could be incorporated,
Okay.
the state's anniversary. We also discussed the fact that while we weren't successful with the King Grant for the Murals project, there are other grants that we're looking at. Some of those have deadlines coming up throughout the next couple of months. And then, depending on how those grant processes work, we may bring that back and rediscuss how much more time we want to invest in this project if we're not going to have the funds. We also discussed a potential Trails Day event for the Cattail Trail project. We also discussed social media and sharing information with various sources regarding what's happening in the region, about how just the simple act of folks liking and sharing an article that's on the municipality's Facebook page or the Growth Council's Facebook page or the Chambers about stuff that's happening in the region, and what a huge impact that can actually have with folks being able to see those items based on how Facebook's algorithms work. So we spent a little bit of time talking about that as well.
Good,
So,
okay.
yeah, good stuff.
Sounds like good stuff. All right, now we go to the fifth order of business, which is the consent agenda. Now, these items are considered routine and standard business, and therefore would be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussions on these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered sequentially on the agenda. All right, item 20-01, ordered that the Town of Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the readings and accepts the minutes for meeting 2019-21 held on December 18th, 2019. Item 20-02, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves the Treasurer's warrants number 38 and number 40, totaling $554,798.28. Warrant 38 is a general fund, 12/31/2019, in the amount of $141,726.35. And warrant number 40 of the general fund is January 8th, 2020, in the amount of $413,071.93. That's motor vehicle and MSAD 49.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on these? All in favor? Motion carries. They are approved. Sixth order of business. To take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 20-03. Ordered that the town council hereby confirms the town manager's appointment of Trevor Knowles as police officer for a one-year term set to expire on the date of 2021 Town Council Annual Organizational Meeting, and in accordance with MRSA 25, paragraph 2808, hereby authorizes state-mandated reimbursement to the Maine State Police in the amount of $24,000 for Maine Criminal Justice Academy Basic Law Enforcement Program, training expenses, and purchase of equipment for the cost buyout of Officer Trevor Knowles to be expended to the police reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
All discussion? All in favor? Carries. Item 20-04.
John.
I'm sorry.
I believe Mr. Knowles is actually here this
Okay.
evening, so that the chief could introduce him
Okay,
to
well,
you.
the chief can come up and introduce. I'm sorry.
This is Officer Knowles. He comes to us from the state police. He's here with his family, his two children. He will be starting Monday, I believe, right? Yep, Monday.
Excellent.
And we'll be doing a swearing-in ceremony at that time at the town office, if that's okay with you. It's 10 o'clock, okay? 10 o'clock Monday morning.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And I'll speak right now real quick. The other officer was unable to make it tonight. He did say that he thought he was going to have a late meeting and didn't know if he would be able to make it or not. But that's the next item.
Okay, that'll be coming up. Item 20-04 then, we'll bring it up. Ordered that the town council hereby confirms the town manager's appointment of Hunter Quinlan as a reserve police officer for a one-year term set to expire on the date of 2021 Town Council Annual Organizational Meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Done. Item 20-05, Annual Organizational Meeting Business.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
service.
Thank you very much. Okay. Set the dates, times, and location of the town council meetings to be held in 2020.
Should have a calendar in your packets.
There is a calendar in the packet. And there's probably going to be some conflicts of dates that we'll have to play with because we've got that little thing called an election coming up at the end of the year. And I think some of the meetings are,
No,
No?
no. However, November 11th, which would be your first meeting in November, is actually a holiday.
holiday,
It's
right.
Veterans Day.
well, that's what I kind of,
And I'd be looking to, I was going to suggest that we go with a November 18th meeting, so just one meeting in the month of November, like we did this past year. That worked out really
yeah,
well.
I don't have a problem with that.
It did get dicey with December also only having one meeting. Remember, you guys did an
Yeah.
awful lot of work in those two meetings.
Right.
But it did work, but if we plan for November now, just to address that holiday.
Right, I mean, if there's something else that comes up that's a problem, we can readjust the whole thing and,
Right.
you know,
And
go
we'll-
from there.
Yeah. Folks were really great about coming in and making sure that the warrants got signed, that needed to be done so that we continue to pay bills. And fortunately, we didn't have, there were no emergencies that came up, but it was good to know that everybody
Right.
was available if it needed to be.
Exactly.
Should we do the same thing for December this year, where our second meeting falls on the 23rd?
Yeah, I mean, the night before Christmas Eve sometimes can be a little bit of a problem.
It's up to you. We can wait and address it later on in the year like we did last time, depending on.
Which would be fine. I mean,
you know.
we can kill it, or we could go the 2nd and the 16th, or something like
We
that.
could come back.
too.
We will know probably better,
June.
come September, October, whether or not,
Yep,
depending on what's in front of you and how busy the year gets to
Yep.
be. So,
Now, I had another question I just noticed. There's an election in June, apparently.
yes,
Will
Yeah.
we be okay having a meeting the day after that?
we should be fine.
Which election is?
I don't know. What does the clerk feel on that?
So it affects me in that I become unavailable the week prior to prepare your packets, and it puts it on the manager. It doesn't affect me. I do my best to attend. That particular election is ranked choice voting, so there's a very good possibility I won't get home till 2 or 3 in the morning. But typically, in that case, the manager does offer to cover me so that I'm not falling asleep at the wheel. So it's really up to everybody
It's up to
else.
you guys.
Yeah, what your pleasure is.
Well, my question would be, what would it be like moving it to the 11th? Would that be a difference, or would it still create the same problem?
For me, it's the same.
Same problem?
For me,
It's the same issue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all the prep work that happens prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
Is where it cuts in. So it all depends on how busy that meeting is. But we did the same exact thing last year, and
Yeah,
we haven't had any
Previous
issues.
years we've
In
had.
previous years, it hasn't been a big
What
deal.
we've tried to do is stack the May meetings as much as we can.
And we keep June.
And we try to keep that
light.
first meeting as light, and then the last meeting of June is where you conduct a lot of your fiscal year-end business.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, June is a really busy month for
Yeah,
us
I know.
usually, so. But we can also we'll have a better idea once absentee voting starts in May.
True, yeah.
But we haven't had an issue with having that first June meeting right after an election. We've done it for the last couple of years, we haven't canceled.
Okay, well, we'll play it by ear, and when we come up closer to it, we'll take a closer look at it. And anything else that anybody's got on the calendar?
Looks good.
Our first meeting in October is my birthday. I guess I could come anyways.
First
Okay.
meeting in December is over. So you need to actually take a motion and a second on that, withholding just the one, as presented, but withholding one meeting on November 18th.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hold one meeting in November, on November 18th, because of the holiday.
Second.
Yes.
It's the second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 6:30 PM at the community center,
For the rest of it.
for the rest of it.
Oh,
For the rest-
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So amended?
Okay. All right, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, now we've got a ton of them, which are appointments made by the town council. Lists A and C are attached. And what I'm going to put forth is that all of the appointments that are out there, which there is quite a few, instead of having to go through them one by one, now there has been only, there is no competition on the appointments. In other words, every appointment on the list, one person has applied for. So I would, say we could probably just do one vote for the entire list instead of going down line by line on the 4,000 people that are there.
You have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 people for the municipal official appointments
Okay,
to confirm. And then you appoint the list as presented for the town manager appointments would be your next item.
would be the next item
Yeah,
up.
we did that
And then the board
last year.
committees are on this day.
And the ones that require your discussion are actually broken out as separate items on the agenda, where you needed to discuss who was going to be appointed to what.
Okay,
B.
so I'll look for, on number 2, look for an motion to appoint those, 10.
A and
I do see one, where, at least on sheet C, it says that they wanted to continue, but there is one applicant for the, planning board.
Okay. Yes.
So what happens with the planning board, it's a 5-year term, and there's a protocol with that particular board where a person that served as an alternate, when there's someone who doesn't want to continue and a seat opens up on the full planning board, the alternate gets precedence, and gets moved up into the full board seat, and then the person that expresses interest gets to serve the remainder of a term as the alternate. So the appointment would be for Alan Roy to go from alternate to full planning board member. Oh, I'm sorry, not planning, Land Use Board of Appeals or planning board? Which
Planning board.
Planning board.
I'm
It's
on the wrong
actually,
line.
it's down,
Sorry.
it's under town boards and committees down at the bottom of your sheet. You have the municipal officials as well as the town boards and committees. I wasn't clear when I spoke earlier. So all of this front page is the council appointments.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The town managers are on page 2 and page 3.
Right.
I'll make a motion to accept the town council appointments as written on Part A of the town council appointments. And this would include the municipal officials and the town boards and committees.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, now we go to the confirm appointments made by the town manager, which would be list B, be the second page.
And I'll make a motion to accept the town manager's appointments under List B as written.
second.
Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Now we need to appoint one town councilor to serve on Labor Negotiations Committee.
I would not mind doing that. I've got experience with negotiations.
Okay.
Me too.
Sounds like you've got some competition.
Doesn't matter. You can do it, Peter.
I move to nominate Stephanie Thibodeau to serve on the Labor Negotiations Committee.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay. There being none, all in favor?
I'm abstaining.
One abstain. Motion carries. All right. Appoint one town councillor to serve on the MMA Legislative Policy Committee term ending in June 30th, 2020. I will nominate Peter Lawrence.
I'd second that nomination.
All in favor? Done.
Was that unanimous, or was there a
That was
close
unanimous.
So,
No,
the sustained.
Abstain.
And one sustained.
abstain? Peter, I believe the schedule for the next meeting, which is in February, they think that there will only be one, but there could also be one in March. And I'll forward that to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting,
Well, and this was Aaron's position, that because his term expired, he vacated. So in order for us to keep it, we had to appoint someone this
Yep.
evening. So they've been waiting to find out who
that'll
it
be
was.
excellent. Now we've got the 7th order of business, which is a council workshop and other business, and I'm looking at this to give everybody a chance to really dig into this a little bit more and everything, would probably suggest that we carry this over to the next meeting, but that's up to the council.
I think that would probably be fair to move that to the next meeting to give everyone a chance to get on the
research.
same page.
As a workshop item?
Yes.
Okay.
Versus action.
Hmm?
All right.
Yes.
Yep, so another workshop meeting at
Yes,
the next.
Christine.
I have a deadline for the Spirit of America Awards, so typically you would discuss it at this meeting and then put it on as action at the next one.
Well, that one we could do. That's, Spirit of America is not a research item, so.
Yeah.
We need some suggestions.
I've been thinking about, at the Fairfield Center Grange, the senior citizen group that puts on monthly meetings and suppers. I know we've recognized the Grange in the past.
Right.
But this is a special part of the Grange, and I didn't know how people thought about that.
Because they're bringing a lot of the seniors that used to go to Waterville together in Fairfield, rather than travel way down Waterville.
And in the past year, they've even had movement classes for them, things of interest. I mean, they're continually growing.
They just held their second window dressers session over the weekend.
Okay.
So
That was special.
I really think that it would be nice to recognize them, and especially, it's seniors, promoting seniors too. So
So it would be the Fairfield Grange specific program.
the senior group.
All right.
Is that what they're called?
We can
I
find out what
don't
the
know
name
what their
is.
real name
We
is.
can find out because we actually give them money as part of
Right.
our budget process, so we can find out what their
So
actual
we can
name
look
is.
at the, yeah, put that on the
So add
agenda.
that to the list.
Add that to the list of the Fairfield Grange Seniors Program.
I'll add that to the
Then
memo.
we'll
you-
find out the right name, if they have one.
If they have one.
Yes.
So were there any other additions to the list I gave you as people for consideration that I need to document for the next meeting? The memo that was in your packet?
So they were, would you like me to read what they were?
Sure.
So they were Doug and Marie Cutchins, the Fairfield VFW Post 6924, and the Women's Auxiliary, and then also Tom Munson. So with the Cutchins, it was because of their numerous gifts to
Right.
the municipality, the pantry, shelter, historical society, PAL, industrial road land gift to the town. With the VFW and the Women's Auxiliary, they are regular financial contributors to the heating discretionary account, the Christmas programs, the pantries, providing space, Christmas, they adopt families and do the shopping pieces. And then Tom Munson, community service, he's a member of the KRDA, economic and community development in the past. He was also a member of town council, Rotary. He worked on the Gerald with the historical preservation project, senior housing. He's an ambassador for Fairfield with the business community, and has quite a bit of involvement. So those were the ones that had come forward.
Okay.
So that with the Grange. Yes.
And we
Yep.
added the senior group at the
Yep.
Grange.
Yeah, okay, I've made a note of that. And any additions to the potential dedication list?
They're going to discuss that at the next meeting.
Oh, so,
Yeah, and then we could, the town dedication report, you know, if anybody comes up with something there too.
Right. So recent suggestions included James Lane and Richard Fortier.
Okay. Yep. And there's there's some complicated things on that list too, so that's why for a little bit of research, coming up there, you got the marijuana fee schedule, which is
Are you talking about tabling the rest of all of the workshop until the next meeting?
yeah, it was because there's research that has to be done, but, what do you suggest?
So the next items on here, okay, so your next item is number 3, Code of Conduct, Council Checklist, Council Meeting Procedures.
Right.
Number 4, Town Council Goals and Standards, and number 6, Town Council Administrative Policy. Those are all this night's meetings, your first meeting's action.
Okay.
Number 6, the fee policy. Number 7, the investment bids. Number 8, the Water Street land sale to abutters. Those 3 projects are all pieces that have been on your agenda already as a workshop.
Okay.
They're being brought back because you have 2 new members, so they weren't part of the original
Right.
discussion with the prior
Exactly.
council. So that's why I'm sorry, I wasn't clear when you said postpone the workshop to the next meeting. So-
Well, I just felt there was research there and stuff, and, wanted the new counselors and stuff to.
So that's all in their packets, and everybody's had it
Okay.
from the last meeting, the meeting before that, you know what I mean? Everybody has
Right.
this.
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Go through the whole items, all the items.
Okay, so then the first 2 items, which would be the dedication report and the Spirit of America, we can go to the next meeting.
Right.
Make a
Research.
decision.
All right, Code of Conduct, Council Checklist, Council Meeting Procedures.
Those are all provided to you as they currently stand.
Do we sign them?
You signed them when you got sworn in. So the Code of Conduct for appointed and elected public officials is something that we review annually every year. It goes on the back of every appointment form that we have for
Right.
every appointed and elected official. And it's a reminder of all the various different pieces. Sometimes what's happened is in the past, we've had issues where we've needed to tweak some of the pieces and the guidelines to make sure that the wording was clear. I'm not aware of anything that has come up in the last year that
I'm not.
needs to be addressed.
We worked it pretty hard last year.
Last couple of times, the last
Made
time
a
we went through it.
few changes on it and stuff, so anything, from Stephanie or Michael, if there's anything that they can come up with, or,
I am good as of now.
It's fairly boilerplate.
okay? We'll leave that as is. All right, goals and standards for 2020.
John? Christine?
Christine, I'm sorry.
I just want to confirm, so the council checklist was the next document on, under 3, and then the brochure, the only procedural change I would have would be to update the council list, but if anybody has revisions, this is where you let us know.
I'm sorry.
You would let us know if you have any revisions for the council checklist or the meeting procedure brochure, apart from me updating the council list. And you don't need action, but I just...
Right, well, at this point, there isn't, everybody's satisfied with what we currently have.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next one coming up then would be the goals and standards for 2020. And we got the 2019 goals and standards.
I would like to add something,
Okay.
and let me get it out. In 2021, the town charter will need to have a committee established for the review of the town charter. And in light of that, I feel it's my responsibility as a counselor to also take a look at the comprehensive plan and review the recommendations on a yearly basis to see where we stand. And it's online, the comprehensive plan, but I wanted to read something that I feel is important. The
Okay.
key to a successful plan is not in the number of recommendations it can generate, but how well those recommendations can be put into action. This requires an implementation plan. The responsibility for implementation almost always falls on the leadership of the town. Fairfield has discovered this in the past, and I don't want the comprehensive plan to sit on a shelf and collect dust. So I would like to propose that we, on a regular basis during our workshop item, as a workshop item, we take a look at the recommendations that are stated in the 2014 comprehensive plan. And this would be under the general recommendations for now. There's 4 sections to the recommendations. They are general recommendations, land use plan, capital investment planning process, and regional coordination. And I'd like us for this year to take each one of those sections. But the part with the general recommendations is actually broken up into 9 sections. So I would like to be able to take one section at a time, have us have some dialogue over it, see where we are and what has been done. You figured it's 2014 this plan was implemented. It's nice to see what's done, what's ongoing.
Yep, what is,
So, and in the plan itself, there are 4 different items. There's near-term, mid-term, long-term, and ongoing. So we need to take a look at those. But I think it's a good part for our sake to go and do that so that we can promote the future for our town. So I would like to,
would you like to make a motion on that?
yeah, so,
You don't,
No.
no.
you need to.
No.
You don't need to?
And I'm not sure if it goes under the goals as of right now. Do we make it a goal?
You can make it a goal, and we'll just add, we can do the wording and add it. This will come back to you for approval at your next meeting. You're not
Okay.
approving anything
Yes,
tonight.
all right.
Yeah.
So we can get that added and
Make
put
it
that,
proper.
we can get the wording done for you and get that in there.
So, I don't know, I think it would go under standard number 3. The town council will implement planning and development for economic growth in the town, attract new businesses, but it's, the comprehensive plan goes beyond just,
Could we make
We can make it new standard.
following
can we
the
make a new
comprehensive
standard?
plan?
These are
its own
your
standard?
goals. You
Okay.
can make as many
Yeah.
standards as you want.
All right, so then I would like to make standard number 4
Okay.
and have us do it as part of our regular business portion of our meetings.
I mean,
Did you get that? Yeah, go ahead.
If we just take it one section or goal, however it's broken up at a time, it shouldn't be that difficult to get through it all.
No. And I think all of you should have a copy of the recommendations. So like the first one that we would talk about is historic resources. So we wouldn't do it at the next meeting, it would be the first meeting in February, when it would start. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. You had something to add? Christine?
Not add, this is the meeting where the progress list is updated, where you all talk about the progress to update this list for the next, so like when I bring this back to you next meeting, I have the updated list.
Yep, okay. Sounds good. All right, let's look at the next one, which would be the town council administrative policy. If I can find it in my,
I need tabs.
Right?
Oh, so we didn't print this, that was in the email, that it was such a large document. The edit was, it's the same policy, the edit was just correction to bring in alignment with the charter, the new charter language to the town council policy.
Okay.
On when, what items are taken up actually at this meeting. So it was just a housekeeping.
Okay.
The rest of the document is intact.
okay,
And we would bring it back for action at the next meeting.
works.
Unless anybody sees anything that they think needs to be addressed or changed.
Right, and then the next three are probably more research, particularly for the two council members, which would be the administrative policy fee schedule for marijuana, the investment bids, because we're looking, we have to change investment people, and then discuss the Water Street land sale to a butter.
Yep.
That sound okay?
So you don't want to discuss them now?
Well, for me, it was pretty clear cut. The state is now implementing another tier, and we currently have 2 tiers in place, one of which is Tier 1 at $1,500, and this is for, no, not it,
We actually have 4 tiers in
4
place.
tiers. But
It's a
the
new
one,
tier
right,
that falls
4
between
tiers.
Tier 1 and Tier 2.
So now we're going to 5 tiers,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
And that new tier is for nursery cultivation facility license, and that's for $2,000. The only question I have is, why is that a separate license? Because don't they all, if they're cultivating, aren't they already a nursery?
Not necessarily.
Learn something new every day.
So, the tiers have to do with size.
Okay.
Okay, so like a Tier 1 cultivation facility is based, the plant count, of that facility allows cultivation of a specified number, not more than 30, of mature marijuana plants and an unlimited number of immature marijuana plants and seedlings. And the plant canopy in a Tier 1 cultivation facility allows for cultivation of not more than 500 square feet, okay? And with like a Tier 2, that ticks up 20,000 feet in plant canopy, 2,000 square feet. A Tier 3 is 7,000, a Tier 4 allows cultivation of not more than 20,000, but a nursery cultivation facility under the law allows cultivation by a licensee of not more than 1,000 square feet of plant canopy, subject to the requirements and restrictions of 28B MRS subsection 501(3). Square feet of plant canopy subject to, so all of those pieces. Sorry, I was.
This is for
Yeah.
new or ones that have been established already, or for new businesses come in?
This is for the retail piece. So if you were an existing marijuana, medical marijuana facility, and you switch over to the retail, these are classifications for retail. So what happened is when the town adopted the retail marijuana, we opted into that program. This nursery cultivation facility license did not exist.
Right.
So you adopted the changes in the land use ordinance, and with it, you adopted this section of state statute that addresses all of this. So we would always be in compliance with the state. However, you as counselors have the right to set the fees for the various different tiers. And different licenses, and everyone does require a separate license. That's part of state law. So what we did was the fee was used because the canopy size fell between the tier 1 and the tier 2 size. So tier 1, remember, was not more than 500 square feet. Tier 2 was 2,000 square feet. Well, this nursery cultivation is not more than 1,000, so it fell in between.
Okay.
Because we haven't done any of these, we have no idea how much it's going to cost us to administer these programs. But our fees can't be more than what is thought to be the cost of administering. So the tier 1 facility currently is at a $1,500 fee, a tier 2 is at $2,500 fee. So the nursery cultivation fee, we just simply picked at $2,000 because the canopy size was in between the two.
Yeah.
We picked a fee in between the two. That's all that we did to suggest it. And until these things actually get into place, and we know how much work is going to entail, it may be that it's going to be $5,000. Maybe it's only going to cost us $500 to administer any one of these. We don't know until it gets here, but it's reasonable to expect that it could be in this dollar amount.
Can,
All right.
can we start like looking here and restricting how many of these organizations or places can come in Fairfield?
You would have to change the land use ordinance.
Because, like I mentioned last council meeting, December 4th, I attended the Somerset County workshop up in Solon.
Yep.
They were talking about if we opt in, putting in restrictions on how many of these places we can have in town. Also, too, the distance. The distance we have is a state regulation. As a town, we can add, we can't subtract. And we can add, they said too, we talked to the town lawyer, add additional locations, just like we have on Center Street. We have a hospital there, medical facility. We have the dialysis place. We have a childcare place coming down Lower Ridge. And also too, like I mentioned back in 2008 on this, the federal buildings, the post office, the Legion, was recognized by federal government, and the VFW.
So are you talking, Peter, about restricting where
We could,
facilities can
if
be?
we didn't opt in, they said we couldn't restrict. Now we're opt in, we can put guidelines saying how many of these places we can have in town, or saying what we have established already, saying that's it.
We already did that and said where they were allowed and where they weren't allowed. So they're not allowed everywhere in the community, and there are distances that are in for not just schools and medical facilities, but other locations too.
Yeah, it's not,
And how close proximity they can be to each other.
like, just like I know it says at 500, this is a state regulation, we can add to that.
Right, you could. So, and I believe the planning board, when they discussed all of this and made those recommendations, was simply the fact that commerce itself would take care of that situation. You wouldn't put 4 McDonald's next to each other on Main Street, so they will work that out. You know, those businesses are going to work that out on their own. It's not going to be feasible for you to have them all stacked up, and I think that that's why the planning board didn't get into that type of regulation. But there are very specific places in which these folks can be, and they can't be in downtown. They're not allowed in that region. I can get you some more details of, I don't have the land use ordinance in front of me, and I don't want to give you any false information. So I can get all of that, so to give you a refresher for the next meeting
Yeah,
of
that'd be
exactly where they all are. I don't have it with me tonight, so.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
I'd also like the chief's,
Yeah, and we have all of that,
Opinions on
so.
it.
And
Yep.
also too, on the MMA site, if we opt in, the state, the legislature's trying to figure out if the towns that do opt in, is a money coming to them
Right. And as of right now, no.
now.
right.
Correct.
But we've already opted in. We've
Right.
already
And-
done that.
And if
so.
the state doesn't vote for it, and the legislature, income is gonna come on the town to fund this, rather than
Right.
getting money from the
Which is
state.
why this licensing fee is annual. It's not, most of our business licenses are a one-time $10
Yeah,
fee. That's why
my
this is
concern too
annual.
is just in
Yeah.
case where these facilities come in asking just like for TIF money, and if they do, something that's called, I think Bob or something like that, we lose property tax. That would become like a non-profit. You're saying we won't be able to get the property tax.
They're not eligible for TIF funds.
TIFs,
At all. So.
Okay. So we'll bring that through on the next agenda. Excuse me. Okay, discuss any other council business?
Were we going to talk about the investment bids tonight? In the Water Street? Land sale?
Okay, I'll let. Stupid coughs. All right, so let's talk about the bids.
I had a question for the town manager. Based on the council meeting last month that I attended, and looking at First National Bank, our monies would be primarily put into CDs, diversified CDs, or?
So that was a big portion of how our conversation went, or things that were definitely more secure, not just CDs, but also more secure bonds.
Okay.
So nothing, with whoever is a successful bidder, the next step would be an actual sit-down to find out exactly what the municipality's expectation is, and plans to use our invested funds so that they're not invested anywhere where we would see a penalty for early withdrawal, and to make sure they're investing so that it's making the best possible use of the money. So nothing has been set in stone of exactly what they would be, but First National's approach was to be less stock-driven and more secure funds such as bonds and type CDs.
Do you know what the current interest rate would be for the CDs?
I do not know off the top of my head, and
But
that
it does
typically
vary.
changes all of the time.
Yes.
So normally what happens is they end up going into multiple ones, and then they continue to roll wherever the best rates and stuff are. Like, we have one right now that's at 2.28. I don't even know as if rates are that high right now.
Yeah.
So, and it just happened that we caught it at just the right time and made it the investment with some funds that we had, so.
So basically, if I go to the bank and I get a CD, we're working under the same premise as that?
It's the same type of.
Same type,
Same type.
okay. I want to thank you also for submitting that website that compared the two banks that were in the running. I found that very informative.
Oh, good, I'm glad you liked it.
And I was very impressed with, is it okay to mention which banks are in the running right now?
Well,
Or would you prefer
I would
not?
prefer that you didn't, actually,
Okay.
until I know that you're ready to vote.
Okay, and I also like the fact that one of the banks would meet with the town as often as we would want. And I found that a problem back when I was on the council before, because it was only regimented at quarterly.
Right.
And I didn't like that. I also like the fact that one of the banks had a good record with 35 municipality accounts. And that this bank would also do sub-accounting, and I don't know what that is. What is this?
So what happens is all of our funds the funds that we invest get pooled, so most of our things, so like, say you have the Crawford Trust Fund, we have the Perpetual Care Account, and we have library trust funds.
Okay.
Well, we may take all of those funds and invest them in one CD. But on our side, we need to know how much interest is going to the Crawford Fund, how much is going to the Library Trust, and how much is going to
Okay,
Perpetual
that
Care.
makes sense now.
So what they will do is, instead of saying, the town of Fairfield and all your money made X amount of interest,
Yeah.
they will break that all down for us so that we receive that in a report, and it's just a matter of us transferring the data to our appropriate accounting software, as opposed for us to sit down and figure out, well, the Crawford Fund was only this much and it was at this rate, and they get this portion. The investment firm handles all of that.
That's good to know. And one last question. What would be the length of the terms on the CDs? Are we going for the maximum amount, or will that vary?
So that also varies, and it usually depends on how much you need to keep liquid and how quickly you will need it. So if we know that we have X amount of dollars that we're going to use on a project in 2 years, it's probably not going to get invested in anything that's not going to mature for 4 or 5. Right now, in the markets, and as it has been in the past few years, with markets being as fluctuating as they are and CD interest rates being as low as they are, nobody's really investing in anything that's a long-term CD, because what you don't want to do is invest in a CD for 5 years when, come to find out, 2 years from now, the interest rates have doubled. So, and then we also make sure too, when it comes to CDs, unlike most individuals, if you as an individual went and put money into a CD, you dedicated X amount of dollars to a bank for X amount of time, they give you X amount of interest. The municipality doesn't pay any penalties if we have to pull it out early for emergencies. It's a protection that happens with municipal governments. Not all banks honor that, but most of them do. And it's a piece that we look for, because you don't know. We could say that we're going to invest $400,000 for the next 5 years, and in 2 months there's a storm that destroys a road that we need to have, and we shouldn't have to be penalized for having to access our money. So we don't
These
have
banks
those.
that are in the running, they offer that?
They offer that, yeah. We make sure our money, even our regular savings and checking accounts and that kind of stuff, we make sure we have that kind of relationship with those banks all the time now anyway. It's pretty much standard for us.
So what was the falling off point with our current financial?
They're still under a contract, but it had been 5 years since they had been in place.
Are we losing money with it?
As of right now for this year, I just got the numbers for 2019. It doesn't appear that we lost a lot. In fact, actually, it looks pretty good. Last year, we lost much more than we had gained. Over the course,
I don't think we were unique in that.
no, I don't think that they were. However, over the course of the last 5 years, we haven't really gained much of anything in our investments. And whether it's all some of it was a withdrawal piece, but I don't think it's all market volatility. And basically what was happening in the conversations we had with a lot of interviews that we did is that if the municipality wasn't making money, then the wealth management firm shouldn't be making money. And how do we make sure that that balance stays into place? So that's been a big piece of what we were looking for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess the next thing would be on this one is to set up face-to-face meetings with.
So the town treasurer and I have. So my question was to the council is whether you want to do that, or do you want to go ahead and award based upon the research and the interviews that we did? Both firms are fully prepared to do either or. It didn't matter. It was pretty much what was your next steps going to be. And if you remember the group last time, just the council at the last meeting, if you weren't here, didn't feel comfortable locking in this new council to a potential long-term contract, especially when both Michael and Stephanie had been involved the last time we selected a firm and may want to weigh in on all of that.
That is correct.
So that's where they were at. So that's what I'm looking for, is what do you want your next steps to be? Do you want to meet with these firms? Do you want to see the rest of, I believe, right after the election, all of the bid proposals went to everyone.
Yep.
We can bring some of those back for you too as well. You can make a decision based upon the treasurer and my's recommendation. It's completely up to you how you want to do this going
So
forward.
we'd bring them in for a dog and pony, and you've already been through it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am personally okay going on your recommendations. I think the numbers speak for themselves on that website that you showed us. I feel very confident with one of them versus the other, especially the fact that they have a good relationship with 35 other municipalities. That says a lot right there for me.
That helps.
Yes, it does. And I also like the fact that they're willing to meet with us at any time. We don't have to wait for their quarterly reports. So I would be ready to vote tonight based on the recommendations of the town manager and the town treasurer.
Do you need a vote on that tonight, or is that for the next meeting?
It doesn't matter either way.
Doesn't matter.
You can do either
Well,
one.
what I'll look at is if you want to make a motion that we vote tonight on it, and we'll put it up for,
You make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we vote on
Accepting the recommendation?
of the First National Wealth Management being the company involved with our monies. I'm not putting it very well because I don't have the right vocabulary happening, but for our town's investments. Let me start that all over again. I make a motion that we go with First National Wealth Management as our investment counselors and managers of our money.
Second that.
any discussion, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Okay. So, I would say that,
We're going to do
Item 8.
8.
discuss Water Street land sale to butter.
There we go. So as a refresher to the past counselors and information to our new counselors, you would have had in your packet a small little snippet from a town council meeting that happened on June 12, 2019, where the council considered the purchase of a small piece of land for $3,000. It's located right next door, well, it's actually part of the community center property.
Right.
It is located on the other side of the wood line of the playground. It does allow for a buffer piece that's in there. It's roughly, let's see, it's very small. It's only like 21, almost 22 feet from the edge of the house next door
Can you
towards the
read that?
playground.
Really?
And a majority of it is out in back of their property.
Okay.
And it's to make sure that the property that is next door to us increases the size of the footprint of their land. They had a very small parcel between what they were looking to do there, and so they had made that request. So it's not land that we're currently using, it's not land that we have any plans at the moment to use. It doesn't impact the playground at all in that area. He paid for the survey to be done, which you did receive a copy of that. And the meets and bounds description, all of those pieces. So that's all been done, which is what the council had requested when they met in June, that they would definitely, they would accept the purchase offer pending the survey, pending the property description update, and the expense of the purchase, so. So we wanted to, we're not expecting a motion tonight at all on this. The property owner is aware. We just didn't want to put this on as an action item without this full new council having discussed it and had the opportunity to ask questions before we put it back on for you. That's all.
I guess the question is why is it offset from the original boundary lines?
So I asked the same question, and we're working on getting that answer, because I asked the same thing, is why is it crooked?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And I don't know as if those original boundary lines were actually pinned. And that may be why. And I think it has something to do with topography, and Cindy was checking on that for me.
Okay.
But I don't, if you notice, those lines are dotted and not solid.
So they were just
I think it was a
potential lots?
potential subdivision that never happened.
Okay.
But they found that information. I don't think that that's actually pinned. Because they pinned this new piece. Because if you look, like
Then,
in there.
but it goes
this-
out on that top corner out into,
Yeah. So like Gibson Street was never constructed, never adopted, and it was a
Right.
subdivision that was supposed to come down into here. That never happened.
Right.
But the surveyor was able to find the old subdivision plans. So they used that as part of their book and page, as part of their research. That's all.
it just seems odd that they would have laid this out and not had some rhyme or reason to.
I've asked the same question, we're waiting on an answer.
Okay, all right, that will satisfy me when you had an answer on that.
Maybe
Yeah.
for the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, definitely, before you actually vote. We didn't push for it because I wasn't recommending that you voted tonight anyway. But I did ask the same question as to why it wasn't square. It didn't make any sense to me.
Got something? You got one for me?
Now that you pointed out that it says Gibson Street not constructed, now I can't get it out of my head. Why on earth did we think to keep it there then?
Because it references other plans that are on file in places. So oftentimes when you approve a subdivision and you approve pieces, like you'll approve street roads, and then roads are never adopted until they're constructed, so it's interesting. It's not our survey, it's their survey.
I forgot how deeds were written.
It's pretty interesting process. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other business?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Number 9?
That was number 9.
Number 9.
I have no other business other than I'm glad to be back. I look forward to the next 3 years and getting Fairfield ready for the future.
I couldn't agree more.
Excellent, very happy to have 2 former counselors that I worked with many years.
Thank you.
Welcome Steph and Mike to the board.
Thank you.
And I just do have some concerns. Some residents have brought it to my attention that there's a building that's between the Grange and the old fire place that's been vacant for years. And someone who told me that it might be a little health issue. They saw rats coming out of the building because they're seeing there's garbage in there. The Grange is right next door to the senior program. Their concern is that getting into their building. And they're just wondering what the town is going to do with the building, tear it down. The Grange is willing to, if the town's willing to either purchase it, tear it down, and make a parking lot. Because they say there's a safety issue when they have their meetings, because it's sometimes dark there, and there's cars coming down, so.
The last time I talked to the president of the Grange, he said they were not interested in taking on that expense. But if that's changed, they certainly could make a request. That building's been vacant for quite some time. I can't imagine that there's any food left in it. And because of the stream there and the farms and everything else, rats are pretty common in that
Yeah.
area, but
They're
yeah.
just concerned to get in the
Yeah.
Grange.
We know it's secure. The fire department has actually used it for training a couple of times, so we
Yeah,
do
they
know
have.
that the building is secure and that kind of stuff. Yeah, the original plan was to tear it down and to turn it into a parking
I was
lot.
gonna say, we talked about that.
We had applied for grants, if you remember correctly, I applied for a brownfields grant for an assessment for the asbestos and the lead that needs to be removed before it can be torn down. We were not successful in getting that grant.
Right.
The federal government didn't think a parking lot was conducive to economic development. So now we need the funds to take care of it. And it hasn't come to the surface as a priority of payment when we're still trying to keep the taxes where they are and figure out how we're gonna go day to day, so. But it's certainly, if the Grange has changed their mind and they would like to acquire that property and take care of its removal, and I would think that the council would be more than happy to entertain
Yes.
a request from them about doing all of that.
And another concern too is residents been saying too, I know we have online paying bills and things for the town office. Some of the residents work really late, and I'm wondering why can't the town office be open just one night late? To be able to come in, maybe to pay some bills or things like that.
I'm not sure if it's ever been looked at, but I can do some research for you if they have. See if they have.
Yep.
We'd need to open later too as well, because we don't have the staff for that.
Yeah. Or just, just the schedules, one
Yeah,
work.
so we would not service those people who are accustomed to coming in the morning and just stay later at night so that they could be waiting. Yeah.
Also too, it was mentioned at the meeting there from one of the boosters from the basketball, January 18th, next Saturday, at the Elks Lodge, Motor Booty will be there. They're doing a special fundraiser for the basketball boosters.
Okay.
And that's it.
That's it for me tonight. I'm really glad to have you back, Mike, and I look forward to working with you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Courtney.
I didn't live in the state at all when you served, but I did hear a lot of good things about you from others in the community.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you. I hope I don't let anybody down.
Right. Okay. That being the case, the next regular meeting will be held on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. And at this time, we will recess if we have any documents to sign.
Make a motion to recess.
All in favor?
Did we get a
Okay.
second?
We are on recess.
yes, Michael Taylor
Second.
coughed.
Oh, I didn't hear it.